Page, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. The Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City proceedings will begin. The board is now in session. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, there being no preliminary matters on the AM docket. Case number 1, Nicholas Schumann, 2745 Huntington Avenue Partners, LLC, 2745 Huntington Avenue. This is a Class B, a beer, wine, and liquor license, an application for a new Class B, beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license under provisions 12-1603 CII, requiring $200,000 in capital investments, facilities, and seating capacity for a minimum of 75 people, requesting live entertainment, outdoor table service, and off-premise catering. Please come forward.
If you hold on one more second, Mr. Shulman just got here. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Would you gentlemen raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Okay.
Sorry, I do.
Sorry.
Oh, have you,
My first one, so I didn't know I was supposed to come up. I'm from the
we-
Community Association.
if you're going to testify, you need to be sworn.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Can you state your name into this microphone, please?
It's Shannon Conway. I'm the community organizer for the Greater Remington Improvement Association.
Okay. And you, gentlemen?
Douglas Armstrong, resident and vice president of the Remington Neighborhood Alliance, 2828 North Howard Street.
Thank you. You, sir?
Theodore Hendricks, resident, 2709 Huntington Avenue.
What was that? I didn't get your name.
Sir,
didn't get your name,
he didn't
sir.
get your name.
Your name?
Yeah. Theodore Hendricks,
Theodore?
yes.
Okay, Bryce?
Hendricks is,
Hendricks.
Okay. You want to tell us about this application?
Yes, how you doing? My name's Will Bauer, B-A-U-E-R, and there's Mr. Nicholas Shulman, the licensee for the location 2745. We had our zoning hearing a few months ago to allow for the live entertainment in the C1 district. Now we're applying for the restaurant license. Mr. Shulman has a few printouts he'd like to pass out, and then he'll explain the project to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you pronounce your name? Schauman?
Shawman.
Schauman. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Please proceed.
So my business partner and I started the local oyster in the Mount Vernon Marketplace about a little over 2.5 years ago. Patrick Hudson is the owner of True Chesapeake Oyster Company. It's an oyster farm in St. Mary's County. And we've have the idea, and we would like to open up an oyster bar at 28th and Huntington in the Remington neighborhood.
Excellent. Going to talk through the package?
Oh, sure. Okay, so we've got a couple letters of support here. We've got one from Council President Jack Young, one from Councilman Stokes, a third from GRIA, the Greater Remington Improvement Association, and we have a letter from the folks at Seawall Development stating that they would let our customers use their parking space to alleviate any parking problems.
Okay.
On the 6th page, we have a floor plan with, I believe we've got 76 seats on both floors. And the 7th page, we've broken down our build-out costs. We've got about $350,000 estimated from Atlas Services for construction of the building, which currently is a shell. It's been vacant for 10 years, I believe, something like that. Next, we've got another $40,000 from our interior design firm, who's been working with us on the project. And another $37,000 in kitchen equipment. Next, we've got a proposed menu. So we will be an oyster bar, but we plan to do a New Orleans-themed restaurant with Cajun and New Orleans-type recipes on the menu. After that, these are just a couple awards that we as the local oyster have received over the years, and some of the local clients and charities that we work with.
And I'm
And-
sorry, where's the local oyster located?
We're in the Mount Vernon Marketplace
Okay, and how long have you been there?
since October 2015.
You were the initial tenant, right? You're the first one to open?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then the last page was just a little thing. We work with the ORP, Oyster Recovery Partnership, and out of 340 oyster bars in the Mid-Atlantic, we're number 6 in shell recycling. So we're trying to do our part, and we hope with another oyster bar, we can add to that total.
And I see that the zoning board imposed some conditions on the grant of the zoning permit, that you have to post various authorizations. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, we have on page 5 of on their resolution, all 4 of the terms are agreeable.
And the use and hours of operation, nature of live entertainment, all the related provisions contained in the conditional use.
Exactly.
So any license would be subject to those restrictions. You understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there anything further, Mr. Bauer?
No, I think that's great. We also have Ms. Shannon Conway.
Okay. Ms. Conway, you want to tell us what your position is on this?
So I'm the community organizer for GRIA, and we are in full support of Mr. Shulman receiving his license, as is the community. Mr. Shulman has presented at several general body meetings, and we have every reason to believe that he will be an excellent neighbor and community partner. Additionally, the community as a whole worked to have this property rezoned with the restaurant as an intended use, so this fits in well with the Remington Master Plan.
Okay. Do the commissioners have any questions for Ms. Conway?
I don't have any questions for Ms. Conway.
Okay. Gentlemen wish to speak?
Yes, Douglas Armstrong. I'm here to oppose this on a number of grounds. The first ground is that there is pending a circuit court action against the zoning authorization. And I will give you a copy of the petition as well as a copy of the tickle showing the current status of this case. I would also point out,
Let me just stop you for, didn't you say that you represent an organization?
I represent an organization as well, the Remington Neighborhood Alliance, which is the civic association since 2000.
And they're different from the Greater Remington
That
Improvement
is correct.
Association? Okay.
Yes, and they're not in support of this.
Okay.
So I'm going to give the board a copy of the current case tickle and a copy of the petition. The requesters here have not signaled or legally put forward their defense of their zoning application to the court, so they are not participating in the court. The only people participating would be the City of Baltimore defending the Board of Municipal Zoning Appeals. I would also like to put forward to the board the fact that the current property is owned by an LLC. That LLC is forfeit and does not have the right to do or enter into any contracts, legal contracts for rent or building permits or for a liquor license for that matter. And that is something that is also in front of the circuit court as an issue. I apologize, Commissioner Jones, I only brought 2 copies.
What are you handing me?
I'm handing you a copy of the ESTAT property ownership information that shows the LLC that owns the building, and they are a defunct corporation. Here are the papers for that.
Thank you.
So I'm a little confused. I thought that you had purchased this building and that you were renovating it.
We have a contract with the owner of the building, and the sale will go through once we get all of our permits.
So the build-out hasn't begun?
Correct.
Okay.
But as would the corporations and associations article point out, you can't give anyone an authorization to sell, they can't sell their property unless they are a good standing corporation. As it stands right now, they're not. And they're not in any position to give anyone authorization to get a building permit, or in this case, a land use authorization, which is the BMZA approval. So that's all being challenged, and I think in this case, this is premature.
When is your hearing in circuit court?
Right now, we're waiting for some document. The record is, the last item on the tickle is that a request for extension of filing the record to get a transcript to the city.
So you don't
which
have
is
a date?
No, I don't have a date yet, but I would assume that as soon as it is put in, it starts the 30-day clock for briefs and that sort of thing, and these have been fast-tracked in the circuit court recently.
Yes, sir. And did you have something, Dan?
Yes, I'm a resident of the neighborhood. I live at the south end of that block. So I'm here, first of all, to find out why we're here at all, because I attended the Greater Remington Neighborhood Association's Land Use Committee meeting on January 16th, and the chair announced at that meeting that the project, Mr. Schauman's and Mr. Bauer's project, was stalled indefinitely.
But we're here because the matter was, an application was timely filed with the board, and it was set in for a hearing.
I didn't follow that.
That's why we're here. We're here because there was a timely application filed, and it was set for a hearing.
All right, my question then is the project in hand? Is there financing for the project? My broader question and my broader objection is the lack of parking. There's no off-street parking.
Have you seen
Mr. Schauman, Mr. Bauer have been very vague.
Have you seen the letter from Seawall?
Yes, I'm not, all it says, people will be permitted to park there on their lot. They haven't, in the garage. The applicants have never answered directly on how much parking they will need. It's not, there's no indication that Seawall's offering any kind of discount for the customers of this establishment.
So when you attended this GRIA meeting,
I'm sorry, it wasn't the GRIA meeting, it was the RNA you went?
No, it was a meeting of the Greater Remington Improvement Association's Land Use Committee.
Okay, were you present when the organization voted to support the project?
No, I wasn't there.
Were you aware that they had?
I believe I was aware.
Okay.
When was that vote?
Well, this letter is dated February 4. They said that they had met on numerous occasions back in 2017, and the vote was June 21st of last year. So that's been 6 months or so.
Well, the meeting I attended is January, I believe January 16th. Ms. Conaway can probably confirm the date.
It would have been earlier in January if it was our land use committee meeting.
You have to speak into the microphone or you won't be picked up on the record.
It would have been the first or second week of January, probably January 6th, maybe. It's normally the second Tuesday of the month.
So has your organization changed its mind?
No. I think that they were making a statement about where plans were at the moment as far as we knew, but we still fully support Mr. Schauman in his quest to get a license.
Okay.
We actually started this process back, I would say, the year 2016, late in the winter. Our original zoning hearing was going to be in January 2017, which we postponed because of some feedback we had from the RNA. Then we rescheduled the hearing for the June, earliest hearing we could get was June or July, I believe, after the Transform Baltimore happens. So we've been actually with this process for a year and a half and directly with the RNA, Mr. Douglas's group.
Okay.
Well, nevertheless, I'd say that according to the chairman of the Land Use Committee, the problem was that the chief backer of the project had backed out. So it's not clear to me that.
I'm sorry, the chairman of the Land Use Committee for GRIA?
For GRIA, yes. He said that the project was on hold because the chief backer, Mr. Roberts, instead had withdrawn.
And so I don't
Well,
know
he's the,
who this man is or where he got his information, but that's interesting. Why isn't he here if he opposes it? Does he oppose it? This
No,
organization?
not that I know of.
Oh, okay, so you oppose it.
I do oppose it.
All right,
yes.
so you're a resident, you oppose it. Okay.
Did you
We also faced the opposition during the zoning hearing back when we had it, and the zoning board went through all the allegations, I guess you would call them, and found that they were just not any reason to hold the project from going forward.
Okay.
Did you have a response? Oh.
And Mr. Nick, you do have all your financing in order for the project.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Patrick Hudson, owner of True Chesapeake Oyster Company, is my partner in this. His major financial investors and partners of True Chesapeake Oyster Company, Local Oyster and True Chesapeake are partnering up. We're getting ready to sign the lease on a Local Oyster in Arlington, Virginia, and they will also be backing us for the Huntington project.
Will you be managing this restaurant, this project, this establishment?
Yes.
Can you describe your bar business history? Your experience in the
Describe
bar?
your experiences.
Oh, geez. I started bartending in 1998 in Hamden. I was the bar manager at Fraser's on the Avenue for several years. I was a bar manager in Ocean City for 2 years. I worked as a cook at Woodbury Kitchen. And after saying that I would never work in the restaurant business again, we're opening a restaurant. So it's been a really fun time. We're doing really well in Mount Vernon, and having the oyster farm makes a big difference. We're really passionate about what we do and our seafood. We're the only oyster bar in the state of Maryland that owns our own oyster farm, and we pride ourselves in renewable and sustainable practices. So for us, really, it's about the seafood, and hopefully we can do some good and bring some life back to the Remington neighborhood.
And you're familiar with our rules and regulations?
Of how to operate a bar.
Oh.
So the Mount Vernon Marketplace has a market license, and you operate, the Local Oyster has
Correct.
purview under that, so he's pretty active in the bar there also.
So in response to this, these questions have been raised, Mr. Page, we couldn't actually issue the license if it's approved until everything's in place. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. The board
Yeah.
certainly could have
So
issued a license.
if it's all falling apart, they'll never get the license, even if we approve it, to answer your question.
And just one other thing, Judge, excuse me.
Mhm.
Have you had a discussion with the two gentlemen to your left in reference to their opposition?
We've spoke with Mrs. Floyd on several occasions,
She's the president of the organization, the RNA.
but we have not had any contact with them since our hearing in June.
June. We actually agreed to delay this entire project based off conversation with her from January till June.
Have you addressed her concerns?
I have not been presented with any.
If I may. Commissioner Jones, I think the issue is more of a local residence issue and not whether or not a particular association wants or likes or approves of the particular project. This is the issue of a bar with live entertainment, outdoor table service on a corner immediately adjacent to residential homes in a residential neighborhood, being placed in a building that has been unoccupied for a number of years simply because the owner has been waiting for the ability to replace a commercial operation in there when it's quite obvious that through a whole lot of efforts by the community, we've been trying to reduce the number of corner commercial establishments and regain the residential footing that the community has had. We have a large, dense commercial corridor, which is Remington Row and the R House, with a very large food hall. To start putting bars on the corners in Remington is to then put all of those pressures associated with bars into the residential community. And so you start putting the parking pressures, the noise pressures, the vandalism pressures, all the pressures that you as commissioners are very, very aware of in other communities, you start putting them into the commercial, into the residential portion of the community with this commercial establishment. Thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
I just want to speak to that for a second. So the community association, well, the Greater Remington Improvement Association, with a lot of support from the community, worked very hard to get these corner stores rezoned so that they could be commercial businesses, mostly because we feel that a bar restaurant, not just a bar, is much better to have on the corner, especially one with a responsible owner, than a vacant corner store with no eyes on the streets and no type of business going on. So to say that the community is against it wouldn't be completely correct. I'm sure there are some people against it, but as a whole, we got these rezoned for a reason.
Well, obviously, there's some disagreement. But okay. Commissioners have further questions?
None.
No.
Okay. In answer to the first contention that you made about the zoning appeal, I don't think that in any way stays our operation. I mean, if you're successful in defeating the zoning, that will probably defeat the release of the license if we grant it. But we don't wait for the courts to move, because I can tell you that may be a slow process.
I understand. I appreciate that. And if we are successful, as I
Yeah, the
believe we
license
should be,
won't issue because there won't be any zoning authority.
you'll be the first to know.
Yes,
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, on the basis of the application that was presented, the evidence that's been received, the proffers this morning, and the testimony that's received, it's clear to me that there are some people who disagree with this and would not approve it, but I think there's sufficient record evidence to approve the application. So I'd vote to approve it.
I vote to approve as well. I believe that there's sufficient evidence to approve it.
I also approve the application. It was accepted by our agency and everything appears to be in order. And based on the testimony here today, I don't see anything to change my mind, so I agree.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck to you, and
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
out where the chips fall.
Exhibits for the record.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Applicant Exhibit 1, Business Plan. Opposition Exhibit 1, Case Search. Opposition Exhibit 2. That's that. Thank you.
Ready?
Tracy Sangria, Baltimore Bodega LLC, trading as Chuck's Trading Post, 1506 West 36th Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. An application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license under Article 12-1603 CII, requiring $200,000 in capital investment, restaurant fixtures and facilities with a seating capacity of a minimum of 75 people, requesting outdoor table service, off-premise catering, and delivery of alcoholic beverages. Please come forward.
Would you please raise your right hands, Mr. Bauer?
The testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
I do.
Are you going to testify?
I am, Your Honor. Actually, Frank Dozier, yes.
Okay.
I'm actually not here for this case, but didn't know this today, but I think it's important this board should know how to add in for the transfer.
Okay.
Thank
Was he
you.
sworn as well?
I guess not. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Bauer, what do we have here?
I'm William Bauer, and here's Ms. Tracy Sangria, the licensee. We have a package here we'll hand out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So we have a beautiful place in Hamden on West 36th Street. It's an old school grocery store. I think it was a bar way back in the day. With the new transfer in Baltimore, they're now eligible to become a restaurant in the under the new codes. So Ms. Tracy Sangria is moving forward to expand the grocery deli into a full restaurant, and she's also eligible for the liquor license. So if you'll look through the package, we start with the current menu that's been operational for a while now, for about a year, and some of the options that you can take a look through with the proposed dinner menu on the second page. So she's moving forward to offer some late night stuff along with the access to a beer and wine license. She'll be able to do that. Flip to the next page. We have the budget for the project. We're about $216,000. We figure about 85% of it's already been spent to get the place renovated up and running. We have a little ways to go. Another couple of weeks, we should be all set, hopefully with the approval of today. And then the floor plan. We separated to 3 pages. We have the front room. There's 36 seats, not including the bar. We have a plan for a bar area, but we did not include the seating in that part of the project. And if you look at the second page, the main dining room is 45 seats, and that does not include any kind of overflow in the bench seating. It's just figuring 1 per each side. So we're probably about 85 to 90 seats on the inside altogether. And then the last page, we have a private patio that's not on public grounds, but we did get approved for the outdoor portion of that, but there's no minor privilege required for this project. So I'm going to let Tracy describe her passion and history in the food business.
Before you go there,
Sure.
I see the zoning approval impose conditions as well. No outdoor bar, no outdoor music, jukebox, other forms of entertainment. Patrons have to be seated. for time.
Exactly, yes, yes.
You understand that those restrictions would apply to your license?
Absolutely.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your background, and you've been at this location for a while?
The location's been in place for a year, but I just started a takeover. So I've been in the restaurant industry. It was my first job, so I've been doing this since about 2000 until college. I was a restaurant manager and a bar manager for 5 years in a location in Albany, Maryland, as well as a bar manager in a location for 2 years in a location in Bethesda, Maryland. I left the restaurant industry for the last 12 years. I was store manager for Target, which we carried groceries and things like that, and supported the projects there with expanding into the grocery. And I've, up until yesterday, have been working for Sephora as a store manager, but my passion has always been food. So when I've known my investor here, Bernard, since 2002, and the opportunity came into place to allow me to own my own restaurant, and that is why I decided to take on this endeavor.
Okay, so you're fully familiar with our rules and regulations in terms of purchasing, inventory, and who you can sell to, and hours if you're granted the license and all of those things?
Correct.
Okay.
Have you taken the alcohol awareness course?
Yes, I have.
And also, you live about 2 blocks from the,
Less than 2 blocks. I live. You can see my house from the restaurant.
you own that, correct?
Yes, I purchased this home 1 year ago.
Okay. Commissioners have other questions?
None.
Community input?
We went to the HVMA and the HCC, and there's no oppositions registered from either group. We had the zoning, previous to the zoning, we discussed it with both groups.
Okay, great. And
That was back in June, maybe July.
all concerns were addressed?
Yes,
Was there
yeah.
any
Anything further?
no other questions?
Okay. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the evidence that's been received in the course of the hearing, the proffers and testimony this morning, I would vote to approve the application.
Thank you.
I concur.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
I promise just one more and I can leave. Back to Ocean City.
Just as cold there, isn't it?
We had a blizzard, 1.5 foot of snow, 50-mile-an-hour winds. It was awesome. It was awesome.
I'd like to call exhibit for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, business plan. Thank you.
Christopher Amendola Restaurant Group LLC, 3520 Chestnut Avenue. This is a Class D beer and wine license. An application to transfer ownership and location of the Class D beer and wine license presently located at 1115 West 36th Street to 3520 Chestnut Avenue. Please come forward.
All interested parties, please come forward, raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Which one of you is Mr. Amendola?
That's me.
Did you appear in the Super Bowl last week?
I wish, but no.
Is that your relative?
It's somewhere along the line, a distant cousin.
Okay.
I get that all the time.
Okay. Mr. Bauer?
So in this project, we have also Mr. Randy, whose name I'm not going to pronounce at the end, has Mr. Chris. So Mr. Chris bought a restaurant on Chestnut Avenue called Arome on the 3500 block of Chestnut Avenue. Maybe about 3 months now.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a liquor license for sale, a Class D liquor license for sale, beer and wine in the neighborhood to be available for him to purchase. So Mr. Randy's the seller of the liquor license.
What is your last name, sir?
Shayadovich.
Can you spell that for the record?
SHAYOTOVICH.
Okay.
Randy.
And how long have you had the license?
We had the license for 3 years previously.
And it's 3 blocks away on the avenue,
Mm-hmm.
the art house. So I'll let Mr. Chris describe his history in the food business, the restaurant business.
I've been working in the restaurant business since I was about 15 years old. I grew up in Florida, and I've just been working up and down the East Coast. Worked for chefs like Sean Brock and Dan Barber in New York. Before coming here, I was the executive chef of Fleet Street Kitchen for about 2 years, and then Waterfront Kitchen also for about a year.
And you've taken the alcohol awareness classes?
Yes, yes, I have.
Awesome.
Okay. So you're familiar with our rules and regulations?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you can look in the pack, I'm sure there's some floor plans submitted before, but I brought another copy. It's about 20-seat restaurant.
26 seats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the restaurant was already fully built out when he purchased it.
So no renovations? No.
Just moving tables around. We also have a letter that came in at the last minute from the Hamden Community Council from Max Stegman, offering the support of the Hamden Community Council, and a memorandum of understanding, which we're still waiting for one signature from the Hamden Village Merchant Association, but we have the Hamden Community Council. These are both originals, I think, right now, so we'll get you a copy as soon as we can. But
Just take a look. Thank you.
and we have the most recent menu of the project, and you can keep in order from if you like.
Thank you. These will be received. So is this Chestnut Avenue location residential like the one we had a little while?
No, it's further up Chestnut. So this was already, I believe it's now C1. It was B1, now it's C1. It's, if you know where the Charmery is, a half block down from the Charmery, across from Paulie G's restaurant.
Okay.
And before it was a restaurant, it was a tavern back in the day. It was called
Chestnut Pub.
Chestnut Pub.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
None?
No.
Okay, anything further?
That's it, I think. Anything else to add?
Thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the evidence that's been received during the course of the hearing this morning, the proffers and testimony, I'd vote to approve the application.
I concur.
So good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you very much.
Luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I do want to grab that original of the MOU if you don't mind. I'll follow with the liquor board as soon as.
And the letter from.
Yeah, the first letter is okay. You can keep. Just that last page I'm going to need.
You just want the MOU?
Yes, yeah. Great. Thank you.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Thank you. Board Exhibit 1, Love Support, Hamden Community Council. Exhibit 2, Menu. Exhibit 4, Floor Plan. Thank you.
You're right.
No.
John Barnhart Lansdowne Liquors, Inc., trading as Boozman Bar and Lounge, 3360 Annapolis Road. This is a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to transfer ownership and location of the Class D beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 2511 East Fayette Street to 3360 Annapolis Road with delivery of alcoholic beverages. Please come forward.
Would all interested parties raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
So, Mr. Boozer, you represent?
Good morning, Your Honor. For the record, Frank Boozer on behalf of the applicants in this case. I am standing in for Mr. Hurdle in this case. Mr. Hurdle was called to do his civic duty and jury duty this morning and was actually, I believe, by his expletives and his text messages, picked for a jury, so will not be here. I had the opportunity to actually check in early, speak with the community representative member and counsel from the community. I believe that it might be able to work this out. We want to be able to work this out.
Can he identify himself for the record,
Sure,
please?
sure.
Yes, Your Honor. My name is Will Harrington. I represent the Lakeland Community Association Partnership. With me is Ms. Pam Oliver, the president of that association.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, what,
There will be either applicant's request for continuance or perhaps a joint request for a continuance so that my client can attend the meeting on the 14th, have further contact with counsel, and try to get something worked out that would be amicable to both parties and move forward.
That's correct, Your Honor. We do not object to a continuance provided that Mr. Bernhardt does attend the association meeting on the 14th at the Lakeland Elementary School.
so you will let us know that something's been resolved so we can set it back in?
Absolutely.
Great.
Okay. I would grant the continuance if there's no objection from my colleagues.
No, no objection.
Okay, good luck. I hope you
Thank you.
can
Nice
work
to see you.
something
Thank
out.
you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Brian Sheely, 2014 West Pratt, Inc., 2014 West Pratt Street, Class A beer, wine, and liquor license, an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kineski, and I am staying in for Mr. Abraham Hurl also. Of course, I get the tougher of the two transfers, and certainly have had a momentous this day so far. You had Mr. Harrington there. Everybody knows the song about H-A-R-R-I-N-G. Harrington.
Good morning, Mr. Kadetsky.
Good morning.
Maybe we're better off with Mr. Hurdle on the jury than with you. I don't know.
I'm surprised they took him.
Gentlemen, would you raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
No.
This is a transfer of an existing license. Mr. Takes him, he's the current licensee, is selling to Mr. Sheely. Mr. Sheely worked for Kaplan Glass for a long period of time. He became disabled and decided he couldn't work anymore and he had to get a business, and he decided to buy this business. He's 60 years old. He doesn't have any experience in the business per se. Mr. Sim is going to stay on with him along with the regular employees that he has, the 2 or 3 employees, and so he can learn the business. Basically, when he's there, he's going to be there all the time because he's not able to get around and more in a managerial type thing, managing his own business. He is scheduled to take the alcohol awareness course within the next week or so, as I see in my notes, and he's familiarized himself with the rules and regulations. The liquor board is going to keep the same hours of operation, and as indicated, the same employees will be there along with Mr. Sim. A review of the history indicates it's not a problem place.
Okay. And Mr. Sheely, how many people are going to work there?
2 to 3, sir.
You can get closer to the microphone.
And will you be there most of the time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you understand, I mean, this is essentially a liquor store, so you could have the problems with underage people trying to buy, and you understand that you also have certain restrictions on where you can purchase your inventory and
Yes, sir.
all of that. So be careful, otherwise you run into trouble with us and you come
I'm with
back here.
that.
We don't want it either. Okay. The commissioners have questions?
No questions.
Okay, on the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the proffers from council and the testimony received, I'd vote to approve the transfer.
I approve.
I approve.
Thank you.
Good luck, sir.
Good luck. Thank you.
No exhibits.
No exhibits.
Felix Mendoza, B&M Deli and Grocery LLC, trading as B&M Deli and Grocery, 3123 Elmora Avenue. This is a Class A beer wine license, an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Councilwoman Sneed's outside. May I go get her real
Sure.
quick? She'd like.
I think it's in the record though already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have it. I think we have them both.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
You can actually hold on to these if you want to keep them. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Okay, all those who are going to testify, please raise your right hand. You can testify, but you can't raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, are you Ms. Mendoza?
I'm just the interpreter for him.
You are an interpreter?
Yes.
For?
Mr. Mendoza.
Okay, you need to be sworn as an interpreter.
Alba de la Cruz.
Alba de la Cruz?
Yes.
How do you spell it, just to make sure I get spaces right?
DE space LA space CRUZ.
All right, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to this is gonna be Spanish, right?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm to translate this hearing from Spanish to English and English back to Spanish to the best of your ability?
Yes.
Okay, can Mr. Mendoza tell us about himself and what the operation is?
Díganos acerca de usted y sobre las operaciones. De las operaciones que hacen ellos.
What is his experience?
¿Cuál es su experiencia?
Experiencia. Tengo un año y medio de experiencias.
I have a year and a half in experience.
Doing what? So we don't know you, Mr. Mendoza. We need to know what your background is, where you've worked, and what experience you've had in the liquor business.
Queremos saber cuál es su experiencia en el negocio de alcohol.
Duré por 2 años aprendiendo en una disco, aprendiendo todo.
I had 2 years experience working in a liquor store, learning.
Can you tell us where?
¿No puede decir dónde?
AILs 452.
A&L.
Patterson Avenue.
A&L. ¿Cuál es la dirección de nuevo?
Patterson Avenue.
El número?
452.
426 Patterson Avenue.
So here in Baltimore.
Aquí en Baltimore?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and is that recent or is that a long time ago?
¿Es reciente o hace años ya?
No, yo duré por ahí como, ya eso hace como un año por ahí.
It's been like a year ago.
Okay. And so now this is out in the Bel Air Road area, this new location?
Ahora la locación que está en la Bella Road es una nueva locación.
No, no es nueva.
It's not a,
It's not a new location.
Pardon?
It's not a new location.
it's not a new location.
Yeah, but I mean, I know we're not moving yet. I'm just saying that he was working in Patterson Park area, and this is a license that's out in the Bel Air Road, Edison area, correct?
No se está moviendo, sino que la licencia está en la Elmora, en la Bella Road.
Does he have any connection with that area, that community, that neighborhood?
¿Alguna conexión en esa comunidad? En esa área de la comunidad?
Son como que sería.
What kind of connection?
Does he live there? Has he worked there? Is he familiar with the community?
Sí.
¿Vive ahí? ¿Trabaja ahí? Yes.
Yes, what?
Que sí. Que sí. Que
Why is
sí
it so
vive,
hard to get
trabaja.
this information?
Que por qué es tan
Vivo y
difícil.
trabajo.
Que por qué es tan difícil dar esa información. I live and I work there.
Where?
¿Dónde?
Do we have an address or something, or street?
Puede dar una dirección, la calle, el nombre de la calle.
Yo como dice, trabajo ahí y duermo también en la 631.
I work there and I live in 631 29th Street.
29th Street. Okay, I just don't know how close that is. Is it close to this establishment on Elmora Avenue?
Cerca del establecimiento.
No, tan cerca.
¿Qué tan? It's not that close.
That's about 29th and Greenmount, maybe 2 blocks east of Greenmount, 29th Street.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Gracias.
Has he had the training to the class?
¿Tiene el entrenamiento de la clase?
Sí,
When?
Yes. ¿Cuándo?
como 4 meses por ahí que yo lo cogí.
Like 4 months ago.
Okay. And is he familiar with our rules and regulations?
¿Está familiarizado con las reglas y las regulaciones nuestras?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. We have letters of opposition, and apparently some people who want to speak about that today. Has he spoken with any of those people?
Dice que hay personas que están en contra, que se habla eso con esas personas. No, he doesn't have any knowledge of that.
Okay. Perhaps we should hear from them, and then we can address that, okay?
Hi, my name is Councilwoman Shannon Sneed. I represent the 13th District, and I heard from residents that live in the area that they wanted to oppose it. One of the reasons was because there are enough liquor stores in the area, but on top of that, just how the owner has kept other properties in the area. I have some pictures that they sent in. And the third thing was that
I'm sorry, the current owner or the person who?
I need to check on that. And also, as far as them not coming to the community to have a dialogue or a discussion. And so that was one of the things that was concerning.
And is that a language problem, or is that a resistance?
So now that I understand, I don't know if it is language and resistance, but normally, I don't know, I don't want to speak for them.
Okay. And you, sir?
So I'm Mike Hilliard. I'm the Community Services Director at Harbell. You have in your file a letter from me that co-states the one Christina Delgado of Bel Air Edison Neighborhoods Incorporated. I've talked to Christina and Rita Cruz, who's the president of Bel Air Edison Community Association, and although I agree with everything in Ms. Delgado's letter that we have far too many liquor licenses in the city, the reality of it is we realize you guys can't just pull licenses or absolve them. So what I would ask and they would ask is if you approve this license, you mandate the licensee to enter into an MOU with the community association, which would, in this case, would be Bel Air Edison Community Association.
Okay, and we have a letter from another organization, the
4x4?
I'm sorry.
The New Pleasant.
New Pleasant Grove Missionary Baptist, so it's a church in the community, I guess?
Right.
Okay, okay. And is the pastor of this church or members of this church part of the Bel Air Edison neighborhood group?
They're part of the 4x4, which is kind of within Bel Air Edison's boundaries.
So if there were any discussions, they'd be included?
I would think, yes. I would think if there are any, my suggestion would be the MOU be performed with the parties being Bel Air Edison Community Association, representative of 4x4. That Baptist Church is a prominent anchor within the 4x4 and the licensee.
Is this liquor establishment already open?
Is the store open?
¿Está abierta la licorería? Yes.
And operating because someone has the license currently?
Y está operando porque ya tienen una licencia. Yes.
And who is that?
¿Quién es el dueño de la licencia? Mr. Roberto Gomez.
And does Mr. Mendoza work for him now in the store?
¿Usted trabaja para él ahora en la tienda? Yes.
And is the current owner, does he speak English?
El gerente o dueño habla inglés? No.
Have you had any contact with him?
No, I haven't had any contact with him. My understanding is exactly that it's currently operating store, that this is merely a transfer of ownership. So.
Is your understanding resistance to speaking with the community?
No, I mean, candidly, part of the problem we face with transfers is don't know how to communicate with them. You know, I mean, we don't have addresses, emails, or we can communicate with them prior to the hearing. So optimally, what you want to do is create an MOU that's incorporated in the license, and there's an agreement between the new owner and the community on how the place is going to operate.
Hillard, I hear what you're saying. Have you approached the potential buyer in reference to wanting to communicate with him that you want an MOU?
I would love to, but I have no way of communicating with them except knowing that, now maybe I should have gone into the you know, more intensively into the posting, but except on the schedule that he was applying for a new license. So the issue is, how do I get in touch with him to do that?
If you have investigated him, I'm not saying you did, but if you have, do you know anything negative about him?
No, I do not.
You
I
don't?
have not, but I know of nothing negative about it.
Do you have a question?
Not right now.
Okay. So, come up to the microphone. There is obviously a communication barrier, well, for both of you. We recognize, at least I recognize, that there's some communication barrier. The people who live in this area have expressed concern because there are a number of establishments in the area. Can you explain that to him?
Dice que hay personas que están poniendo quejas por el negocio que tienen ahora, entonces sabe de eso, de que estaban poniendo algunas quejas.
I'm just stating this as a fact. The councilwoman is here representing her constituents. The neighborhood association is here. They want to have some communication with Mr. Mendoza about the operation of this establishment.
La Junta de la Comunidad quiere tener algunas palabras con el señor Mendoza.
Pero ¿cuál es el problema? ¿Por qué son las quejas? ¿Qué es lo que está pasando?
I don't know what's the problem, what's going on, but it's the claim that people are talking about.
I can't hear you. I didn't understand the last.
He doesn't know what is the claim that they are putting on to the store.
Well, if he isn't aware of any of the problems in the area, I'm not convinced that he should be running an operation there. Yes.
I'm sorry, if I may. The letter dated January the 26th, 2018, to the applicant Felix Mendoza. In the body of the letter, second paragraph, it says the board expects you to contact the community and business organizations in the area around your business before the public hearing. This was the second letter mailed to the applicant, advising him what he should do prior to the public hearing.
Does he have someone who is translating for him the communications between our agency and him?
Dice que si hay alguien que le está ayudando con la interpretación de lo que le están enviando a usted. No.
That's not going to work.
Dice que eso no va a trabajar así.
I understand, and I'm sympathetic to the fact that he doesn't speak English, but he needs to deal with people in the common language, so he's going to have an interpreter assist him.
Dice que no, que él entiende que no habla inglés, pero que tiene que tratar con ellos. con las personas del liquor board.
That's what I was going to do, but I wanted to, okay. I want him to understand why. So I want you to understand, Mr. Mendoza, no one is suggesting to us that you not get this license.
Dice que nadie le está diciendo que usted no puede obtener la licencia,
But they have concern about the way that it will be operated because the neighborhood has had difficulties with this kind of establishment.
dice que tiene dificultades, las personas que viven ahí están teniendo quejas porque no saben cómo el establecimiento se va a manejar.
So the board wants you to meet with the neighborhood representatives.
El liquor board quiere que usted se reúna con las comunidades, con los residentes de la comunidad,
To hear their concerns and to discuss with them how you plan to operate the establishment.
para que escuche sus quejas y para decirle cómo va a operar el establecimiento. I don't have any problems with that.
That's fine, and we are going to not decide today, but bring the case back in after you've had an opportunity to meet with them.
No voy a decidir hoy, sino que voy a decidir después que tenga una oportunidad de hablar con los residentes.
Now,
¿Necesita firma o qué de lo de ahí?
He's asking if he has to get any signatures from the neighborhood.
not necessarily. Typically, what happens
Típicamente lo que pasa
is that people who are seeking to transfer licenses into, or to take over a license in a community will meet with the community representatives and frequently enter into a written agreement with them.
las personas que están tratando de transferir una licencia debajo de su nombre se reúnen con la comunidad y firman un acuerdo.
Those are usually called a memorandum of understanding.
Esos usualmente se llaman un memorando de entendimiento.
And they talk about things like your hours of operation, parking, and security, and issues like that.
Y hablan acerca de la hora de operaciones, estacionamiento y a la seguridad.
And then when we grant the license, we usually make that memorandum of understanding a restriction on the license so that you have to operate in accordance with it.
Y cuando le damos la licencia, ponemos ese memorando en un acuerdo, entonces para que ya pueda operar.
So that is what we would like you to try to do so that we can approve your license and the community will be satisfied as well.
Entonces eso es lo que queremos que haga para nosotros poder aprobar la licencia y hablar con la comunidad.
Does he understand?
¿Entiende?
And this gentleman,
¿Cuáles son la gente que entonces que se oponen para poder hablar con ellos?
I want to know who are the people that oppose so I can talk to them.
yes, the representatives from this, we can give you a copy of the letter. We have a letter from the Bel Air Edison Neighborhood Organization. This gentleman represents them.
Él está representando la organización.
And the councilwoman represents other constituents in the area as well.
Representa otras áreas.
And our people can assist you in setting up a meeting if you need to do that.
Nuestras personas le pueden asistir para hacer una reunión.
And once you've had that opportunity, we'll bring you back, and hopefully then we'll grant the license.
Cuando hagan eso, entonces lo van a traer acá, entonces le dan la licencia.
Okay, so we're going to continue this matter until that occurs, all right?
Hasta que eso ocurra.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck.
Came from us to them.
Yeah. No. Yeah, Tom's going to talk to them.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, letter of opposition dated 12/11/2017 from New Pleasant Grove Missionary Baptist Church. Board Exhibit 2, letter of opposition dated 12/21/2017 from Bel Air Edison Neighborhood Association. Thank you.
Mr. Akris. Make sure that they understand that he needs someone to sit down with him and go through the letters and documents so he understands. Okay, thanks.
Donald Savoy, Don West Management Services LLC, trading as Little Darlings, 403-05 East Baltimore Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and a Class AE adult entertainment license. An application to transfer ownership of the Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and Class AE adult entertainment license with continuation of live entertainment. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicant, Donald Savoy.
You're right, it is afternoon. Would you raise your right hand, sir, please?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Fogelman, so this is a straight-up transfer?
Straight up transfer, no expansion, no ancillary services requested. It's kind of a smaller, one of the smaller clubs on the block. It's got a 75-seat capacity. It's located in a basement. Mr. Savoy has more management experience than I do, and that's not saying a lot, but nevertheless, he works for Veolia Transportation. They do MTA routes, they do Charm City Circulator buses. He's a driver supervisor, manages over 60 drivers, 12 dispatchers. This is his first foray into certainly the entertainment business. He's never been previously licensed in the alcohol management business, nor has he had any prior management experience, but he is in the process of hiring a manager who's got extensive experience in the industry. And in that regard, if you have any questions for him, I mean, always good to see alternate Commissioner Jones today. Back in the day, I used to say to applicants for these kinds of places, these kind of licenses, that you have two licenses here you're dealing with, and that's two sets of regs to understand, and that's twice as many chances to potentially violate rules and regulations and be in front of this very board on a less hopeful occasion. So in that regard, he's going to be alcohol management certified. He's got an appointment the weekend after this one. He's a pretty serious guy, understands he's got to run a serious business and be vigilant at all times in operation. So
Yeah, Mr. Savoy, this, it is not an easy business to run. You have a lot of experience in the business world, so I hope you can do it. But the history of this place, since 2009, it's been in front of us 2 or 3 or 4 times, fined, suspended licenses, and problems. So it isn't hard to get into that kind of difficulty if you don't run a tight management in a facility like this. So be warned, because we are not going to be very sympathetic if you're back before us and there are violations occurring there. Okay. So, and you or your manager needs to be on board there, present, and you're going to be responsible for whatever occurs there, whether you're there or not. You understand that?
I understand.
Okay.
Is it operating now?
No, it is not operating, but it has opened in order to comply with the law. I believe Chief Inspector Fosler did an inspection on December 22nd. It was open and operating.
Okay. Anything further?
None.
No.
Okay. On the basis then the materials contained in the application, proffers from counsel, and testimony, I would vote to approve the transfer.
I concur.
I concur.
Good luck, sir.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good to see all of you. Have a great afternoon.
It was a thank you.
That's the other commissioner.
Nicholas Valubasis, contract purchaser, 4701-03 Eastern Avenue. This is a Class D, a beer and wine license, a request for hardship extension on the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-2202. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kanensky, 19 East Fayette Street, representing the contract purchaser, and request for a hardship extension.
Let me swear him just for a minute, okay? And then good afternoon. Do you raise your right hand, sir?
As everybody else does, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Mr. Kadensky?
Yeah, for the record, this was an establishment that closed around January 2016. Mr. Valubasis was his landlord. He owned the building at that time and so forth, and he had it transferred to him as a contract purchaser. had a request for a hardship extension, and it's in the file, was filed timely. For whatever reason, it wasn't docketed, and in fact, some of the renewal application had the wrong address, therefore it sort of slipped by the cracks. He had a people who wanted to buy, who happened to be the ones behind me here. It's a D license. It's a beer and wine only. It's not a beer and wine liquor restaurant mainly. And then when they came to file the application, then it came to light that the request for hardship extension was never docketed to be heard. So at this time,
So is there a deal that's going to go forward?
not there? They hope.
If the hardship's approved?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I mean, they're ready to go within a short period of time, put an application in, and they'll need some time to just get the kitchen up and running. I don't know whether you know where it is. It's regularly, as it used to come out of the underpass there. We used to refer to it in the old days as Greektown, but now they have a lot of Latinos and other groups that are in there. So
It is right in that
can't
area.
be Greektown anymore.
Okay. Do the commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. On the basis of the information that Mr. Kadensky has provided to us, I would vote to approve the hardship extension.
I concur.
I approve also.
Luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No exhibits.
Justin Cherokee, Pi 360 LLC, trading as Pi 360, 3731 Boston Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. Request for hardship extension. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky, representing the landlord interested party. This is the Canton Square shopping center there on Clinton and Boston Street. This particular establishment had been in business, was one of the restaurants that were there. They went out of business. They filed their hardship back in last April or May, and this is another one that wasn't docketed or heard, and they are asking for and they have another tenant ready to go in there, and they're asking for the hardship extension to be given. I think they'll have tenants ready and waiting to come in. They just didn't have a license to be able to offer to them.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
On the basis of those proffers, I'd vote to approve the hardship extension as well as the letters in the record.
I approve as well.
Good luck.
Exhibits.
Interesting day.
So I believe that concludes the morning session.
It does. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, the board is in recess until 1 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Thought we had the
Good afternoon. Welcome to the afternoon violation docket of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City. As stated before, this is the violation docket. When your case is called, please step up to the microphone, state your name clearly into the microphone, and if you're going to be giving testimony, please be prepared to be sworn in. One last note, if you have an electronic or mobile device, please silence that device now or place it on vibrate. Mr. Chair, I have a preliminary matter.
Please.
The first case, Colin Scarlett and Robert Scarlett, Exit 59 Incorporated, trading as Exit 59 Lounge Restaurant, 6820 through 24 Eastern Avenue. There were 3 charges. That case has been postponed and will be rescheduled for a future date and time. Calling the next case, Michael Fastman, Ronald Hartman Sr., and Sunuk Polster, General Umberto Nobile Society Incorporated, trading as UN Society 201 South Eaton Street. This is a Class C beer, wine, and liquor license. It's a violation of Rule 4.20D small I. Class C licensees may not be open to the general public. A violation of Rule 4.20D double small I, Class C licensees may not be open to the general public. A violation of Rule 3.03C, employee records. a violation of Rule 4.14A, live entertainment without authorization. All those parties to this case, please step forward.
Would everyone raise your right hand, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
What is your name, ma'am?
My name is Sonok Poster.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, you and the others on the license have been charged with violating 4 different rules. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. And this occurred on December 2 of last year.
Yes.
Now, you can either admit that that happened and explain, or you can deny it, and we'll have them testify as to what they observe. Would you rather admit or deny?
Actually, it's a lot of miscommunication. We opened this club first time.
No. First, you have to tell me whether you're going to admit or deny, and then I'll let you.
We admitted, yeah.
Okay.
This everything violation happened that
Okay.
day.
Now explain. Now you can tell me what
Sure.
you wanted to tell me.
Sorry. My English is not that good, so sorry for
I'll
your
go
patience.
slow if you want. I've been told that a couple times today.
Thank you. So it's kind of a knowledge thing. We didn't know that we need the entertainment license, and also about employee. We don't. I'm sorry. Is it behind? Sorry.
About this distance is good.
Like this?
Yes.
Yes. So right now we running this club, only me and my husband. People helping us, they are just social member and our friend. And problem is, most of them our Latino friend. And when they saw the police officer, they are really scared. So a lot of miscommunication there. And personally, at that time, I was pregnant, and I didn't take care of well. And I was maybe bedroom somewhere, So it's a lot of miscommunication. And also, the opening to general public, most of, I'm sorry.
I can't understand you, so.
Sorry, yeah. Like this, yeah. Most of customer, they are local people, so we know everybody each other. And then many of them members, when police officer ask them, are you a member? And unfortunately, many of them doesn't have a green card. They thought they thought somebody deport them. They were very, very scared. Yeah, so that's why a lot of misunderstanding happening.
So this license transferred in 2006. Were you the person have you had this license since 2006?
2006 is Robert Hartman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And have you been there on the license with him since that time?
Right now, Robert Hartman.
How long have you been involved?
1 year.
Oh, 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and Mr. Hartman is not present? He's not here today?
I'm the president.
Okay. Because I don't think we have any prior violations in that time period. So that's a long period of time. So this is the first time we've had this problem. So let me just ask Chief Fossler what they observed so that I can get a sense of what was going on here.
Chief Inspector Mark Fossler, Balmer City Liquor Board, to Chairman and Board. In the last year, we received multiple complaints on 311 from the neighbors. We've been to this establishment numerous times. It ended up on the Social Club Task Force because of the repeated complaints from the community. So our observations are that the place, this is a Class C club license. They're not open to the general public. They're required to have a membership list, to have dues, et cetera, to have a daily sign-in sheet. And anytime we ever went there, we never had that. We advised the licensees. In fact, on this occasion, I spoke to the
First time you violated them?
Yes. And on this occasion, I spoke to the licensee on the phone, and they asked me to come by on Monday, which would have been December 4th. I went there, the place was closed. I left my card, never received any contact. And on the night we were there, we had Inspector Perez act in translating to various people there, including the manager. We asked the manager didn't know anything about membership, didn't know anything about a club. I mean, he thought it was a bar. And subsequently, we've learned that, at least anecdotally, that the individuals operating the bar are paying $3,000 a month to operate the bar. That's our understanding. I can't confirm that 100% yet, but so there was no daily sign-in sheet. There was no details or log about membership available. None of the patrons admitted or said that they knew anything about membership. The two employees who were there, Mr. Angel Churquin and Andre Lane, Mr. Andre Lane, who was acting as security, couldn't provide us with any of that information, couldn't provide us with any of the information that had to do with employee records. We found a sign there that advertised $10 cover charge to enter the club. I've been doing this a while. I've never seen any kind of fraternal organization or any kind of club organization where people were members, where they're required to pay a cover charge to come into the establishment. So this is a Class C license that's operating like a BD7. If you want a BD7, you get a BD7. So we violated them for operating outside the scope of a Class C license and for no employee records available. I think that the Housing Administration, Code Enforcement, and Vice can provide some additional information.
Okay, let me just say, so have you ever talked to Ms. Polster?
On the phone.
On the phone, okay. And do you actually manage this place, or does Mr. Fastman or Mr. Hartman manage? Who manages it?
That's me.
You, for the last year?
Yeah, Michael Fassman is my husband. Actually,
Okay.
he and me, we managed together. Since that day, we decided we close the door. And like, it's too much a problem. So right now, we completely close the door. Actually, that day, after that, we reduce opening day. And we have it's a lot of issue. Actually, complaining, we know that who is complaining. And we talk to most of the neighbor, not most of the neighbor. We knock the door because we want to know who is not happy with us. Most of the neighbor very happy with us because we have a light. And that street is not safe street. And we opening late night, and most of the neighbor like it. Only one neighbor. And she has a lot of complaining. In the end of the day, about all the issue, I don't think I have a capacity. I don't think I have ability. So I need to close the door. And then we don't make money. Actually, this club, we opening for the neighbor, actually. And then about Andre and security, all the people, I can bring them. They are my good friend. And they know my situation. They don't get any pay.
A couple of things. First of all,
Yeah.
with people complaining, that's what gets the board's attention, and that's why
Yeah.
the inspectors come out. But the violations that you have are because you're not operating in accord with your license.
But we can bring next time all the member, actually 300 members there. Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't understand. I was very angry at Angel. Why you didn't explain to them we are running to private club? Everybody was not everybody, like more than 50% of people, the member. I told them why you didn't talk to police officer, inspector, you're not member. I don't know. He said that they speak Spanish. They said that they have a phobia, deporting after actually this. This president. And we are really upset, and my husband and me, we decide to close.
Okay.
Yeah, officially we close right now.
Did you say that there was somebody from housing who wanted to speak?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask him a question before you leave?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
You made mention of $3,000 to operate.
That was some anecdotal information that we've received from our investigation.
So the $3,000 was being paid to the owner, to
Licensee, yes, sir.
licensee? Excuse me, ma'am. What is your name again?
My name is Sonok. My
Mrs.
name is Sonok Poster.
All right. Do you have any understanding of anyone paying anyone $3,000 to operate the business at that location?
What? I don't understand.
Do is someone paying you $3,000 to operate the business, your bar, your club?
No.
Are you paying anyone $3,000 to operate your club?
This is our building.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone from the housing department?
Investigator Daniel Reiner, Baltimore City Department of Housing, Code Enforcement Legal Section, Special Investigations Unit.
Investigator David McGinnis, Baltimore Housing Special Investigation Unit.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What would you like to tell us?
Well, I issued the initial violation against this property, was based off an inspection back in August of 2015, where it was found to be operating open to the public. Again, no dues, no membership lists. It was not operating as a private club, which is what the use we had listed for it, and as such issued a violation. This incident in question was Investigator Reiner was there as part of the reinspection of my original notice. They were issued a failure to abate off of this notice because the subsequent secondary inspection found the violations I originally issued had not been corrected.
We responded out December 2nd as part of the Social Club Task Force after receiving another complaint from 311 based on loud music and the property operating outside the scope of it being a club. Upon arrival to the scene, I noticed a large banner outside that read, UN Club under new management, join us for happy hour all day. The banner made no mention of a private club. Club was open and accessible to general public. Upon entrance, there was a table with a handwritten $10 cash, or I'm sorry, a $10 cover fee sign. At that time, I heard loud music emanating from the basement. I made my way down to the basement with the other members of the liquor board and the vice unit. I observed numerous patrons seated both at the bar and the tables, drinking beer and other alcoholic drinks. There was a DJ set up in the rear corner of the property, providing live entertainment. This property is zoned in the R8 district, which means it is prohibited from having live entertainment. I spoke with numerous patrons as well as the management regarding membership status and the status of the property as a private club. No one could affirm any sort of membership. I searched for membership logs, applications, documentation, or even bylaws, and no one in the club could provide any of those for me. I did speak with the respondent that night via telephone, and I explained the issues that we had.
Ms. Polster?
Yes, my apologies.
December 2nd?
Yes, December
Oh, yeah.
2nd. The issues in that we were following up on a complaint as well as from the original notice in August. I took a number of photographs that night. If the board would like to see them, they are readily available.
About the sign, I admitted we do that. I don't have any idea it was a problem. I am so sorry. Since you guys, point out, we take it out right away. And also the $10 thing, we didn't have any idea. We stopped right away. And also about noise, we put the $7,000. We do that all the soundproofing thing, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
I'm good.
I don't have any questions.
Anything further from anyone?
Nothing further.
Anything you want to add, Ms. Polster?
Yeah, just, I'm so sorry for making all the problem. We really didn't mean it. And we bought this club. It was a Italian's club. And we bought it like 1 year ago. And, if I didn't like money, it's lying. But we want to open this club for the neighbor, actually. And, it was my fault. I didn't manage well. I don't have a 100%, knowledge of, the private club. Completely, it's my fault. And misunderstood too. And then when December 2nd, the officer called me, and I came down there right away, but we are 5 minutes late. You guys just left. And just, I just want you to understand, we try to do good thing for community. And, we can show you all the sales and income thing. We don't make any money. But at the end of the day, we just want to close it. Yeah, it's too much headache for us. And we talked to all the member. We try to do nice thing to, neighbor. But seems like we causing problem, in good way or bad way. And many people very upset and sad. But, we don't want to pay more penalty. It is really, really, bleeding. Yeah, so.
Okay. Has
The building is on the market right now, yeah.
Has anybody verified that they're closed?
Agent Chris Morales, Baltimore City Liquor Board. I can say that we were there doing an investigation last Thursday, and they were not closed.
I think Wednesday.
Wednesday, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And they were not closed on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday we open, we completely close. We have another violation that day, we close completely. And we don't order any beer and alcohol. And then Wednesday something happened again, so we decided, done. Yeah, and we already announced, social media and then all the social members.
Okay.
The building is on the market officially in Gilo. Yeah.
All right. Having heard the testimony and reviewed the materials on the charging the violations, I would find a violation of Rule 4.20, small d, small I, on December 2, 2017, a violation of Rule 4.20, small d, small double I, on December 2, 2017. I find a violation of Rule 3.03, small c, on December 2, 2017. And I'd find a violation of Rule 4.14, small a, on December 2, 2017. As to each of the violations, I would impose a fine of $250 and give you 30 days to pay it, and I would suspend the license for 7 days.
I concur with the finding and the penalty.
I concur.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So today I need to pay here or?
No, you have 30 days.
30 days. So when can you guys gonna send it to me bill or?
They will explain to you.
Right now?
Okay. I'll meet you down here in 1 second. Clerk, call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Chris Morales. Thank you.
Now, if that's all right.
Calling the next case, Aliku Gerbe and Yosef Tesfazan, Weshazet Incorporated, trading as Opposite Sidewalk Saloon, 132 South Carey Street, is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Violation of Rule 4.20C, small double I, Class BD7 licensees, open and operating tavern at all times. A violation of Rule 3.09A, restroom facilities and health regulations, November 17, 2017. Violation of Rule 4.17A, storage. A violation of Rule 4.18A, alterations.
Would all those who are going to testify please raise their right hands?
Mr. Foster, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Counsel, you want to identify?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Previs on behalf of the licensees. To my immediate right is Mr. Aklilu Gebre, one of the licensees.
Good afternoon. Will he be admitting or denying the violations?
Denying, and I would move to dismiss these charges for a violation of due process, and if I can be heard briefly. According to Detective Greenhill's report, the last page of the police report, Detective Greenhill indicates, as a result of the violations consisting of fire, housing, and liquor board, Detective Greenhill of 2S Vice closed the establishment known as Opposite Sidewalk Saloon, located at 132 South Carey Street. Licensee Yosef T. Tesfian later arrived on scene and was advised by Agent Chris Morales, Investigator McGinnis, and Lieutenant Holmes of the multiple violations that members of the task force observed on the premises. The premises was closed for the weekend and left in the control of Mr. Tesfian. The penalty of a 3-day suspension has unilaterally been imposed without a hearing in this matter. based upon liquor board violations. This is not the first time that Detective Greenhill has closed businesses without a hearing, and this board needs to send a message that the board determines what the violation and the penalty is, not the task force. So I respectfully request that all charges be dismissed because of the closure. After this occurred, Mr. Gebre came to my office Monday morning. We immediately contacted Mr. Fossler, indicated the liquor board had not closed it. We contacted the health department. The health department had not closed it. Contacted the fire department. The fire department had not closed this. This is not for other violations. It's police power under our alcoholic beverages 6205. Police officers enforcing this article that Detective Greenhill used his power, abused his power to close this premises without a hearing.
Yes.
Chief Inspector Mark Fossler, Balmer City Liquor Board. At the time we were at the establishment, there were multiple violations, including people that were living upstairs in a boarded off. They couldn't, if there had been a fire or something, they wouldn't have been able to escape because the windows upstairs were boarded. In addition to the gate downstairs, a metal gate outside that prevented exit. Detective Greenhill determined that there was a public safety issue, and while we couldn't close the establishment, we issued the violations, but he had determined, and probably rightly so, because the people living upstairs wouldn't have been able to get out of the building, that there was a public safety issue.
Is there authorization under any statute to do that?
Chairman, I'm only only versed on liquor board law. I'm sorry.
Detective aware of any authority?
Am I aware of any authority or what?
To use a public safety violation as a basis to close?
If I deem a property such as a liquor store to be a public safety issue, then yes. It's not the first time I've done it in my career. It's within Vice as well.
So, it's the first time I've heard the argument or been aware. I don't know whether the police have that authority.
Do you have a copy of the statute you were
Yes.
citing to?
Yes, Your Honor. Madam Commissioner, the alcoholic beverages article, 6205 is the general provision for the authority of peace officers to enforce the liquor code. Now, if there were some violation outside of the alcoholic beverages article or regulations promulgated pursuant thereto, then it would be the burden of the closing agency to say this is because of a fire hazard or this is because of whatever. But if the police officer is acting through his powers of enforcing the alcoholic beverages laws, then this board has a procedure for the inspectors or the police filing a report. The deputy executive secretary determine whether charges are appropriate, the deputy executive secretary promulgating those charges, and charges being brought before the board to determine whether there's a violation, and if so, what sanction should be imposed.
I do think, however, that there are general police powers under our Constitution that allow sworn officers to enforce prohibitions and things like this in the event that there is some public safety problem. Whether this is the appropriate way to do this going forward, I don't know. But I am hesitant to rule that he's limited in his authority by this alcoholic beverages statute because we all know that there are many cases in which courts have talked about the opportunity to enforce the police powers of the state, which are pretty broad. So I will say this, I would deny the motion to dismiss this, but I would certainly take into consideration if there is a finding of violation, the fact that the facility's been closed for 3 days already in terms of any sanction that would be imposed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Putting that aside, would he admit that these violations occurred?
We admit 4.20C2 and the 4.17A.
Okay, so you want us to have the officers testify as to the other violations?
Yes.
Okay, who observed the restroom facility?
Agent Chris Amalis, Baltimore City Liquor Board. I did.
And what did you observe?
Not having paper towels or soap.
And that was on November 17, 2017?
That's correct.
Do you have questions for him, Mr. Priebus?
Thank you. Other than the paper towels being out and the soap container being out, were there any other, was the bathroom operational, Inspector Chris Amalis?
As far as I know in my notes, correct, it was.
Okay.
Okay. Who observed the alterations?
I also observed the alterations.
And what did you observe there, Inspector?
They built a, and Chief Fosler can testify better to that because he had met with the licensee prior to the alterations. They had built an extension of the bar with plexiglass going all the way down from the door that you're supposed to enter, the wall that you enter the tavern, all the way down. They had closed it off with plexiglass. Chief Fosler had met with him prior.
Chief, can you tell us what's going on?
It's more of an explanation than an outright denial, Mr. Chairman. I have been
So
in
you
contact
agree that
with-
there were alterations made?
There were, and I want to be able to explain our contact with Chief Fosler regarding this issue and what events occurred.
All right, well, he's here, so let me hear from you, and then I'll ask him.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, Mr.
Oh, okay. Basically, what happened was Mr. Gabray purchased this establishment around February of last year. He's been there about a year. He's originally from Eritrea. He's only been in the United States for a little bit of time. And I did not represent him initially when he purchased this establishment. He purchased an ongoing establishment. And what happened was, between the language barrier and the cultural ignorance, he was not aware of the various liquor board rules regarding alterations and BD7 tavern / liquor store operations. What he initially did is he pulled a building permit to extend the carryout portion. So the original bar that goes back to the 30s has a big long wooden bar counter like this, and someone had built on a partition and made a carryout area and then a tavern area behind it. And what he did when he took over is he got a building permit to expand that door to make the carryout portion larger and the tavern portion smaller, and then put plexiglass around the tavern portion. When he hired me and I saw the premises, I advised him that this was not appropriate. He's since moved it. He's put it back. We had an environmental control board hearing Monday with Mr. McGinnis, or a week ago, with regard to the violations. The contractor did in fact pull a permit, but didn't put some shelving on it and left a couple things off. The other issue in that case was the second and third floor. There was storage of not just non-alcoholic beverages, but alcoholic beverages on the second floor, where the license says first floor for business, basement for storage. I applied for a use permit for second floor for storage and third floor for residents. There's testimony and photos of an air mattress upstairs. The workers rested there. That permit I've been advised that I have to file for a zoning appeal to put storage on the second floor because it's in a residential zone. So he in fact wishes to pursue that, and we are going to go for that. But at this point, everything's been moved. Mr. Gabray has provided me with updated photos, and I believe Chief Fosler would.
Well, you've had conversations with him about this, Chief Fosler?
Yes, I did, Chairman.
Is that an accurate statement of what was going on?
Yes.
We have some updated photos, if I could show the chief.
I've been there subsequently,
Okay.
and he made the alterations, we violated them, and then he reversed. What he had done, he undid and turned it back into what it had originally, the way it was originally set up.
Okay.
And I informed him that it would require to submit a floor plan to the board for approval, what he wanted to do, and seek approval from the board.
And I believe in there, Inspector McGinnis, there was an abatement notice issued.
For partial, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
In any event.
Anything that you need to add?
No, sir. We had the permit was obtained to install bulletproof glass, and after reviewing the permit that was presented and the drawings, we had determined that the work, including extra framing out of a closet, adding shelving, all fell outside of the scope of the permit. To my knowledge, that permit was in the process of being amended. We also did find, again, that the third floor was being occupied. It did not look like employees were resting. There were air mattresses, cell phones plugged in, a portable air conditioning unit, and a portable heating unit were all up there, as well as all of the windows on the third floor were boarded up, leading to no possible egress, which was one of the main contributing factors to this being immediately closed as a life safety issue.
Will the photos fall to the record?
I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
the
they'll be
hearing
received.
notice doesn't need to go, but I may have given that to you by accident.
this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything further?
No, if I were Mr. Kadensky, I'd say it would be better to jump out the third floor window than to burn, but it's been rectified.
He wasn't very funny today, so I don't know whether we.
You don't want to follow those footsteps.
The boards have been removed. Is that correct, Inspector McGinnis?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, sir.
Mr. Previous, I want to give you this
Thank
back.
you, sir.
Just one comment. You say the permit that was issued needed to be amended.
Correct.
Did you get any commitment from anyone that the permit will be amended?
When we had our environmental control board hearing approximately a week or two ago, it was updated that the amendment had just been submitted. So I've had some server issues this morning, was not able to verify anything further, but he did have a receipt of the amended permit being submitted. Again, it appeared could have been a issue with the contractor submitting the correct paperwork.
Just in all candor, just so that I'm perfectly clear on what occurred. We filed for a use permit regarding the second and third floors because on the use permit that was obtained that when Mr. Gabray took over, it didn't mention the second and third floors whatsoever. Correct. With regard to the building permit, I have not amended that yet because I'm meeting with him to do the zoning appeal hearing, and we had planned on doing all that at the same time. But we have every intention of filing the amendment for the shelving at the same time that we do the appeal.
Okay. Do the commissioners have anything further?
I don't.
No, sir.
You have anything further?
No, sir. I just,
Okay. All right.
I said before and take into consideration
Yes.
closure and the fact that he's taken efforts to try to rectify things.
Yeah. All right, on the basis of the admissions as to the Rule 4.20 CII and 4.17, is that the one? No, or which
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
17A.
17A, admissions, and the evidence that's been received here, I would find violations of each of those rules on November 17, 2017. As to the bathroom issue on Rule 3.09A, I'm going to give them a break on that. And as to the alteration, I find a violation of Rule 4.18, small a. This is his second violation of 420C2 in a short period of time. Any explanation for that?
The first time, we were here about 2 months ago, and I think that was more ignorance than anything else. This second time, he was out of town, and his worker was ill, and he had actually closed the pull-down fire door on the side exit, and had called to about closing early because he wasn't feeling well and didn't have extra help because he wasn't there. So it was more of a situation where they were shorthanded and someone was ill than it was ignorance. But in any event, he clearly understands the law as it stands.
Okay. Well, as to that violation, Rule 4.20C, small double I, I would impose a fine of $350, give him 30 days to pay it. As to the violation of 4.17A on November 17, 2017, and Rule 4.18A alterations on November 17, 2017, I'd impose $100 fines as to each and give him 30 days to pay for a total of $550. And I do that in consideration of the fact that he was closed for 3 days.
Understood.
I find a violation as to 4.20C as well, 4.17A, 4.18A as well. Is it 550? I agree with the chair's imposition of fines as well.
Today is your good day, not lucky, but your good day. I agree also, because of the fact that the establishment was closed down for 3 days. But I still want to get clarification on that, and I would love to have that supporting documentation to show that you do have the authority to close down. Because I would hate to be sitting in this position again, not knowing whether I should go with the the police officer to lean towards you when there's a violation at hand. So I'm going to concur with everything that was said in reference to fines.
And the findings of violation.
And the finding of violations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Previs, just ensure that your client understands the rules and regulations of the liquor board.
I have been working with him.
And this one, the 4.20, the first violation, if he comes back on a third time, he's going to be in serious trouble. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Next thing you know, here, Mr. Previs.
Call exhibits.
Call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, former City Police Department report, Detective Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Mr. Malice. Licensee Exhibit 1, photos of premise, 5 in total. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
our investigators just checking to see if the licensee for the last case is outside.
Okay.
Let me just check to see service.
I'll call the case.
Please.
Calling the last case on the docket, yes. Edna Montgomery, Mont Inc., trading as Chuck's New Johnson's Lounge, 546 North Pulaski Street. It's a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct. A violation of Rule 4.14A, live entertainment without authorization. Violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct. All those individuals will be testifying. Please come forward. Be prepared to be sworn in.
Do we have proof of service?
We do, Chairman. It was served on the 29th of January, which would give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, exactly 10 days, so.
Okay, let's proceed.
Thank you.
Who would testify as to the Rule 4.16 violation?
I'm going to testify to the November 3rd, and Detective Gatto will testify to November 11th. On or about November 3rd, 2017, at approximately 11:25 p.m.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may proceed.
Agent Chris Amalis, Baltimore City Liquor Board. On or about November 3rd at approximately 11:25 p.m. while on duty working with the Social Task Force consisting of Baltimore City Fire, Baltimore City Health, Baltimore Housing Authority Special Investigations Unit, and the Baltimore City Vice with the Liquor Board arrived at 546 North Pulaski Street in the city of Baltimore, state of Maryland. Once at the location, myself and Detective Gatto observed tables and chairs set up outside where it seemed to be an alley. The tables had alcoholic beverages on them, and patrons from the establishment were outside around the table. After reviewing the license, it was discovered that the establishment did not have outdoor table service. I made contact with the manager, Miss Brittany Ferguson, and made her aware of the violations. Ms. Ferguson cleared the tables and alcohol and brought the chairs inside. We left the location without any further incident.
Okay. Anything further? Detective?
Detective Abraham Gatto, Baltimore City Vice Unit. On the 11th of November 2017, 23:40 hours, myself and Agent Chris Amalis were in the aforementioned location, at which time we were driving by the tavern, and I observed a male later identified as Tawan Stapleton holding a plastic cup in his hand, drinking from same. As I exited the vehicle, thinking it was an alcoholic beverage, he looked me dead in the eyes, saw my police tactical vest, which said Baltimore Police on front of same. He then did an about face, ran into the bar. I then followed him. I located him seated next to the front door. Mr. Stapleton was still holding this plastic cup. He admitted to me that the drink contained, just a second, Hennessy. He asked me if I was going to pour the drink out. I told him no, I was not. He could continue drinking the alcoholic beverage as long as it was within the confines of the tavern. I then notified Mr. David Brunel, 42659 of 1012 North Payson, who was I was told was the night manager. I ID'd him through his Maryland photo identification, and I advised him that there would be a liquor board violation written on the incident of that night, and that same would be forwarded to this board.
Okay, thank you.
you.
For the record, I want to say that we have a notice of the hearing today that with a return of service for January 29 at 3:38 p.m., signed off by Mr. Charles Montgomery, Chuck's New Johnson Lounge. And no one's present, I believe, on behalf of the licensee. So based on the evidence presented by the detective and by the inspector and the material contained in the charging documents, I'd find a violation on November 3, 2017 of both Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, and Rule 4.14A, live entertainment without authorization. I'd also find a violation on November 11, 2017 of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct. Looks like this licensee was here 6 or 7 years ago for the same thing and had the license revoked, and then was here prior to that for the same thing and had a license suspended.
So, was there a transfer, it looks like, after the last violation?
That would happen, so this
Yeah,
is
okay.
a different
So it's
licensee.
right, so this is
You're right.
the first violation under this licensee then, okay.
Okay. Okay. So, as to the Rule 4.16, illegal conduct violation, I'd impose a fine of $250 and give them 30 days to pay it. As to the 4.14 violation on November 3 as well, I'd impose a fine of $250 and give them 30 days to pay it. And as to the November 11, 2017 violation of Rule 4.16, I'd impose a $250 fine and give them 30 days to pay it.
I agree with the violations, or I find violations, however, I was going to go a little bit lower than 250 and 200 for each of them.
Let's see what Commissioner
Right.
Jones thinks.
Since it's, taking into consideration it's the first violation.
Well, I'm a little prejudiced because I know the history of this location. I was part of the last owner of this property, and I think the new owner is either his wife or daughter, I'm not sure. But in any event, I'm going to stick with the 250 because this has been a history of this bar location to have outdoor table services without the proper permit. And so I would have did more, to be honest, but I'm going to stick with the findings of $250, and I agree with the violations being guilty for each of the charge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Russell, here's the notice for the record.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the afternoon docket. Oh, sorry, strike that, sorry.
Record call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Chris Amalis. Board Exhibit 3, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto.
I apologize, Ms. Russell. That concludes the afternoon
you.
docket.
Thank you.